Imagine it's February 2020, and you and your husband have good, stable jobs, a large support system, and a good savings account. You decide that this feels like the right time for you that you've been waiting for to welcome your first child. And then COVID hits. Now it's the middle of April, and there's not enough supplies for you to feed yourself, let alone a baby. You and your husband have lost your jobs to not being deemed essential, and your parents are at a high risk for the pandemic. That safety net that you had for appointments and emergencies has been drained, so you can store supplies so you don't have to leave your home and can pay your bills now that you don't have a job. This is only April, and there's no telling how long this will last, but things aren't stable, and besides for your future crashing down, babies are at a risk as well. You feel trapped in a corner with little options and know that in a few months you might not be able to work because of the pregnancy and your support system is all trapped in their own homes. Maybe this isn't the time to bring a child into the world. In 2020, there is still the unending debate of should abortion be legal, and if so, when you can do it. Alexis McGill Johnson not only wants to protect the rights for women to make that decision, but also to have the resources Planned Parenthood offers. She uses a visionary approach her imagery and language with her imagery and language to promote a better future of people of any color for any medical need the clinic can offer. The leader I have chosen to discuss is Alexis McGill Johnson. Johnson is a civil rights activist who was recently elected as president and CEO of Planned Parenthood. She also co-runs the Perception Institute, which is, in their own words, are about translating cutting-edge mind science research on race, gender, ethics, and other identities into solutions that reduce bias and discrimination at prominent belonging. She's a Yale graduate in political science and taught there for political science and African American studies, as well as at Wesleyan. Her career into large-scale advocacy began after she took roles as political director for Russell Simmons and then executive directorship for Sean Combs' Diddy, nonprofit for young voters. She has also served on the board of directors for Planned Parenthood, Federation of America, and Political Action Committee for more than a decade, which is all documented in her bios on the Planned Parenthood website along with the Perception Institute website. When I was asked to find a leader, I wanted them to not only align with my personal beliefs, but to be a woman. I feel like my generation is only taught a few inspirational women, and I wanted to find more to look up. I've always been a supporter of not only Planned Parenthood for their abortion rights, but also for all the good they do in sex education and reproductive health. I personally haven't needed to go there myself, but I like having the option available in an emergency and know I have the privilege that others may not have. The theory I think fits best is the visionary approach to leadership, which is on page 117 of the Johnson text. The 4 characteristics of vision by Nanis exemplify what Johnson does in her leadership with attracting committed and energized followers, giving followers meaning, establishing a stance of excellence, and bridging the past and future. Johnson is a visionary leader. I can back up this statement with examples of speeches and writings she has put out. She has offered her voice for young people, especially people of color and women, who feel they are not seen by the governing bodies of the U.S. In her acceptance speech for the position as permanent president of Planned Parenthood, which is on their website along with YouTube, she starts with the presentation with pictures of herself as a young black child. In her voiceover, she says that she is a movement baby and has been raised by protesters and is one herself. This is creating an image beyond herself. She is allowing the audience to see through her words and put them in her shoes. This ties with the 4 characteristics from Burt and Nanis' list from Effective Visions, which again is found on Johnson pages 117 and 118. She is bridging the present and future by comparing her past to the children of today. She also uses we instead of I when talking about the accomplishments and work Planned Parenthood and its sponsors have been doing, which hits the second characteristic, creating meaningful for followers. And she does this by making the followers of Planned Parenthood and other social justice movements just as important as she is. The speech also includes characteristic 3, establishing a standard for excellence, by her saying, "We refuse to engage with an administration that is going to force us to not deliver the best possible care to our patients." In her closing statements, she uses the term "we" again, in talking about the protests and laws that they are fighting. This is showing and encouraging people to join the ranks of Planned Parenthood to fight injustice. And she also uses images of people of all ethnic and age backgrounds to prove her point of we being the country as a whole, which is characteristic one, attract committed and energized people. One of Johnson's major strengths is her compelling speech, as she is a strong speaker. She comes across powerful, but not as a bully. She holds herself extremely well and exhibits justified and earned authority. Another strength she has is her background in leadership and social justice outside Planned Parenthood. Her work in the Perception Institute shows that she is well informed in her speech and always works to be better correct and to educate others and herself. As no one person is perfect, outside Dr. Lyon, of course, there are some things that we have to observe. Johnson's transition to the leadership role of Planned Parenthood was not very smooth, as she replaced and ousted Leanna Wen for philosophical differences, as Wen put it in a letter to the organization's leadership. This leaves Johnson in a position of cleaning up the mess of the organization and leadership, and trying to give people the faith in a system that the current president cut millions of funds. Another negative is that she's a huge civil rights leader, which can make non-white supporters feel left out. While myself am not affected by this, I feel that there are many Americans who feel that she is not looking out for them as much as others. She tends to open most of her statements as a black woman, separating herself from a portion of Americans who are either not a woman, not black, or both. In conclusion, I still believe Alex McGill Johnson is not only a strong leader, but also a visionary leader. I believe my use of Nanis's characteristics prove her ability. In that little scenario I started with, Johnson might not be able to make the woman safe by having may not just make it so the woman feels safe having a determination, but also supplying affordable prenatal care and support for if she intends to keep the child, COVID or not.